I'm Phyllis, 65 years old, and this is a story about how I tried to give my daughter Amanda a fresh start with a new home. But when my son in law Derek moved his entire family in without warning, turning my girl into their servant, I had to take action. What followed was a battle for my daughter's dignity that changed all our lives. If you're watching this, drop a comment telling me where you're viewing from, hit that like button, and subscribe to hear more stories about standing up for family. As I prepare to tell you how I reclaimed my daughter's happiness, I wonder if you've ever had to stand up to someone who took your kindness for weakness. I've always believed in working hard and earning what you have. That's how I built my life after growing up with practically nothing. My parents weren't wealthy by any means, but they taught me the value of perseverance and independence. Those lessons served me well when I started my own bookkeeping business in my 20s. Over 4 decades, I grew that small operation into a respected financial services firm with 20 employees. My husband James was my rock throughout that journey. We met in college, married young, and built our life together brick by brick. He handled the marketing side of our business while I managed the financial aspects. We made a perfect team in business and in life. Amanda was our only child, born when we were in our 30s and already established. We poured all our love into raising her. James passed away 10 years ago from a heart attack. It was sudden and devastating. One day we were planning our retirement travels, and the next I was planning his funeral. The business provided financial security, but the loss left an emptiness nothing could fill. Amanda, who was 25 at the time, became my main focus and comfort. She has always been kind-hearted, sometimes to a fault. Even as a child, Amanda would give away her lunch if another kid forgot theirs. In high school, she volunteered at animal shelters and nursing homes. After college, she became an elementary school teacher, perfectly suited to her nurturing personality. I couldn't have been prouder of the compassionate woman she grew into, though sometimes I worried her generosity made her vulnerable. 5 years ago, Amanda met Derek at a friend's wedding. He was charming and attentive with a good job in sales. When she brought him home to meet me, he made a solid first impression. He spoke respectfully about his aspirations and seemed genuinely interested in Amanda's career. Yet something about him triggered a subtle unease I couldn't quite place. The way his smile didn't reach his eyes, perhaps, or how he subtly directed conversations back to himself. They married after a year of dating in a modest ceremony. I gave them my blessing, but kept my lingering concerns to myself. Marriage is about making your own choices and mistakes, and I didn't want to be an interfering mother-in-law. In the years that followed, I noticed patterns that amplified my initial reservations. Despite both having steady incomes, they always seemed to be struggling financially. Amanda drove the same old Honda she'd had since college, while Derek regularly upgraded his car. When they visited, Amanda would mention budget concerns, yet Derek would show off expensive new golf clubs or the latest smartphone. Their apartment remained small and outdated, while friends with similar jobs bought homes. When I gently asked Amanda about their financial planning, she would become evasive or change the subject. I suspected Derek controlled their money, but I couldn't confirm my suspicions without seeming intrusive. 3 months ago, everything changed when Amanda called with exciting news. Her voice bubbled with joy as she told me she was pregnant. After trying for 2 years, they were finally expecting. I wept with happiness at the prospect of becoming a grandmother. As we talked about her first trimester symptoms and prenatal appointments, Amanda mentioned offhandedly that they were worried about space in their 2-bedroom apartment. That conversation planted a seed in my mind. I had sold my business 2 years earlier and had substantial savings. James and I had always planned to help Amanda buy her first home someday. With a grandchild on the way, it seemed the perfect time to fulfill that promise. I spent several nights considering the idea. I wanted to help without overstepping or making Derek feel inadequate. Eventually, I decided a house would be both a gift of love and an investment in my future grandchild's stability. I called my financial advisor and confirmed I could purchase a property outright without affecting my retirement security. The next weekend, I invited Amanda for lunch alone, wanting to gauge her reaction before making any moves. When I broached the subject, her eyes widened. "Mom, that's incredibly generous, but it's too much by some," she protested. "It's what your father and I always planned," I assured her. "We wanted to help you establish roots when the time was right. With the baby coming, that time is now." After some convincing, Amanda agreed with tears in her eyes. We talked about neighborhoods, school districts, and how many bedrooms they might need. She mentioned wanting a nursery with morning sunlight and a backyard where a child could play. Her face lit up as she described her vision of family life, and I knew I was making the right decision. Over the next month, I worked with a realtor to find suitable options. Amanda joined me for viewings whenever her teaching schedule allowed. Derek came along only once, claiming work commitments kept him too busy. When he did join us, he seemed more interested in the home's features that would impress visitors than in practical family considerations. Finally, we found the perfect place, a four-bedroom colonial in a family-friendly neighborhood with excellent schools. It needed minor cosmetic updates but was structurally sound and well-maintained. The backyard had mature trees providing natural shade and enough lawn space for play equipment. Most importantly, one bedroom had eastern exposure perfect for the nursery Amanda envisioned. I made an offer immediately and it was accepted. The closing process moved quickly since I was paying cash. I decided to keep the deed in my name, temporarily planning to transfer it to Amanda after the baby arrived. My lawyer advised this approach to protect the investment until they were settled, and I agreed it was prudent. The day I handed Amanda the keys remains one of my happiest memories. I wrapped them in a small box with a ribbon and invited her to lunch at our favorite cafe. When she opened it, confusion crossed her face, then dawning comprehension. "Is this what I think it is?" she whispered. I nodded, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. Amanda launched from her chair and embraced me, sobbing with gratitude. Other diners smiled at our emotional display, probably assuming we were celebrating a birthday or anniversary rather than a life-changing gift. "I never imagined having our own house before the baby," Amanda said as she composed herself. "Derek will be speechless." I smiled, imagining his surprise. "Why don't you take him there this evening? I've left a bottle of sparkling cider in the refrigerator for you to celebrate." Amanda clutched the keys tightly. "Mom, I'll never be able to thank you enough. Our baby is going to have the most amazing grandmother." We parted with another tearful hug, and I drove home feeling fulfilled. James would have approved wholeheartedly. I imagined him smiling down on us, pleased to see his family's future secured. That night, Amanda called, her voice bright with excitement. "Derek was completely shocked. He couldn't believe we have a house of our own. We're going to start moving things tomorrow." I fell asleep that night with a peaceful heart, unaware that our family's harmony was about to shatter. The day after giving Amanda the keys, I decided to visit with some baby gifts I'd purchased. Driving through their new neighborhood filled me with satisfaction. Children rode bicycles on sidewalks while parents chatted across front yards. This was exactly the community I wanted for my grandchild. As I turned onto their street, confusion set in. Several unfamiliar cars crowded the driveway and lined the curb in front of the house. Had Amanda organized some kind of housewarming party without mentioning it? I parked behind a battered pickup truck and gathered my shopping bags. Before I could knock, the front door swung open, revealing a young woman I'd never seen before. She appeared to be in her 20s with bright pink hair and multiple facial piercings. "Oh," she said, looking me up and down. "Are you Derek's mom?" "No, I'm Amanda's mother," I replied, increasingly bewildered. "And you are?" "I'm Tara Kyle's girlfriend," she answered, as if that explained everything. Before I could respond, she turned and shouted into the house, "It's Amanda's mom!" She wandered off without inviting me in, leaving the door ajar. I hesitated briefly, then stepped inside. The living room, which had been empty yesterday, now contained mismatched furniture and stacks of boxes. A middle-aged couple occupied the couch while two young men played a video game on a large television that certainly hadn't been there when we closed on the house. Amanda emerged from the kitchen looking flustered. Her hair was pulled back messily, and she wore an oversized t-shirt that did little to disguise her small baby bump. She carried a tray of sandwiches. "Mom, I wasn't expecting you," she said, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Derek appeared behind her, placing a proprietary hand on her shoulder. "Phyllis, perfect timing. Come meet the family." Over the next bewildering minutes, Derek introduced his parents, Harold and Gwen, both in their 60s. Harold barely looked up from his newspaper to acknowledge me, while Gwen offered a limp handshake and a tepid smile. Then came Derek's two brothers, Justin, a surly 30-something, who grunted in greeting, and Kyle, the youngest at 25, who was apparently dating the pink-haired Tara. My mind raced as I tried to process this unexpected gathering. "I didn't realize you were having a family reunion today," I said carefully. Derek laughed, a sound that suddenly struck me as grating. "Not just today. They're staying with us for a while. They were between homes, and when they heard about our good fortune, it seemed perfect timing. Between homes, I echoed. Gwen spoke up, her voice syrupy sweet. Our lease ended, and the landlord raised the rent beyond what retired folks can manage. Derek so kindly offered us a place to stay until we figure things out. Justin snorted. Same with me. Roommates bailed couldn't cover the rent alone. Kyle and Tara didn't offer an explanation, but their shabby appearance and Kyle's resemblance to Derek told me enough. Amanda set down the sandwich tray, and immediately Gwen called out, Amanda, dear, could you bring some more of those potato chips? And Harold's soda is empty. I watched in disbelief as my daughter scurried back to the kitchen. Derek made no move to help her, instead dropping into an armchair and grabbing a sandwich. How long have you all been here? I asked, striving to keep my tone neutral. Just since last night, Derek replied. We moved the essentials right after Amanda showed me the house. My family came over to help and ended up staying. It's great having everyone together, right, babe? He directed this last comment at Amanda, who had returned with chips and drinks. It's certainly full of life, she responded diplomatically, though I noticed the strain in her voice. For the next hour, I observed with mounting concern. Amanda continuously fetched items, cleaned up messes, and responded to demands from Derek's family. No one offered to help her, and several times I saw her pause to catch her breath or rub her lower back. Being 4 months pregnant while serving 5 adults was clearly taking a toll. When she disappeared to the bathroom, I followed, needing a private word. I found her splashing water on her flushed face. Amanda, sweetheart, what's going on? You look exhausted, I said gently. She avoided my eyes in the mirror. It's fine, Mom. Just a busy day with the move and everything. Did you know Derek's family would be moving in too? A flash of something troubled crossed her face before she composed her expression. Not exactly. Derek mentioned his parents might need to stay with us temporarily, but the others were a surprise. And you're okay with this arrangement? I pressed. Amanda's shoulders slumped slightly. It's temporary. Derek says family helps family. His parents lost their rental and his brothers are going through tough times. What was I supposed to say? Perhaps that you're pregnant and preparing for your first child, that you need peace and space. I suggested, trying to keep accusation from my tone. Mom, please, don't make this harder. Amanda's voice dropped to a whisper. Derek was so excited about the house. When his family showed up, he just told them to stay without discussing it with me. I don't want to seem ungrateful or selfish. My heart ached at her words. This wasn't the confident daughter I'd raised. Have you discussed how long they'll stay? She shook her head. Derek says we'll figure it out as we go. Please, Mom, I can handle this. I don't want to cause problems right when we're getting settled. I wanted to argue further, but recognized the plea in her eyes. Pushing now might drive a wedge between us at a time when she needed my support more than ever. All right, but promise you'll call me if you need anything. And don't overdo it with the housework. You're growing a human being, remember? She hugged me tightly. I promise. And thank you again for the house. Despite everything, it means the world to us. When we returned to the living room, I made my excuses to leave, claiming a prior appointment. As Derek walked me to the door, I couldn't resist one pointed comment. That's a lot of people for Amanda to look after in her condition. Derek's smile tightened almost imperceptibly. We take care of our own, Phyllis. Amanda understands that family comes first. The statement seemed loaded with meaning I couldn't quite decipher. As I drove away, uneasiness settled in my stomach. The house I'd bought to give Amanda security had overnight become something else entirely. But she'd asked me to trust her judgment, and I needed to respect that. For now. Over the next 4 weeks, my concern transformed into full-blown alarm. Each time I visited, the situation had deteriorated further. What Derek had described as temporary showed every sign of becoming permanent. My first clue came during my visit the following weekend. I arrived to find Harold and Gwen had claimed the master bedroom, relegating Amanda and Derek to the second largest room. When I questioned this arrangement, Derek shrugged it off. My parents have more stuff and need the space. Besides, they're older and deserve the comfort. Amanda said nothing, just continued folding laundry that appeared to belong to everyone in the household. By the second week, I noticed Justin had taken over the room Amanda had envisioned as the nursery. His weight equipment and guitar amplifier filled the space that should have been prepared for my grandchild. When I asked Amanda about nursery plans, she whispered that they would figure something out closer to the due date. Maybe Justin will find his own place by then, she added without conviction. The third week brought the realization that no one except Amanda contributed to household expenses or chores. During my visit, I overheard Gwen instructing Amanda on how to properly iron Harold's shirts, while Amanda swayed with obvious fatigue. Later, when I offered to take Amanda grocery shopping, she showed me a list that included specific brands and snacks for each family member. She covered the bill herself despite my offers to help. Derek says we need to provide since there are guests, she explained, though her thinning wallet suggested these guests were straining their finances. By the fourth week, the physical toll had become alarming. Amanda's pregnancy glow had vanished, replaced by dark circles under her eyes and a persistent pallor. She had developed a slight limp from what she dismissed as normal pregnancy discomfort, though I suspected it was from being on her feet constantly. The house, despite her efforts, had devolved into a chaotic mess controlled by Derek's family's whims. During each visit, I attempted to discuss my concerns, but Amanda became increasingly evasive. Everything's fine became her mantra, though her eyes told a different story. Derek, meanwhile, grew more territorial, rarely leaving us alone and deflecting my questions with rehearsed reassurances. What troubled me most was the subtle shift in Amanda's spirit. My confident, compassionate daughter was fading into a shadow of herself, seeking approval from people who showed her no respect. She jumped at Derek's every request and apologized constantly for imagined failures. When Kyle criticized her cooking, she promised to do better rather than standing up for herself. I wrestled with how to intervene without overstepping. Amanda was an adult making her own choices. If I pushed too hard, I risked alienating her when she most needed an ally. Yet watching her disappear into this subservient role broke my heart daily. The breaking point came on a Tuesday evening. Amanda called me something she rarely did unprompted anymore. The moment I heard her voice, I knew something was wrong. "Mom," she said, her words interrupted by barely suppressed sobs. "I don't know what to do." "What happened, sweetheart?" I kept my voice calm despite the alarm bells ringing in my head. "I've been sick all day." Morning sickness that never stopped. Justin made this huge mess in the kitchen, making himself lunch, and when I asked if he could clean it up because I wasn't feeling well, he laughed. He said, "That's what I'm here for." Her voice cracked. Then Derek came home and sided with Justin, saying I was being hormonal and difficult. "I'm just so tired, Mom." My blood boiled, but I maintained a steady tone. "Have you eaten today? Have you been able to keep anything down?" A pause. "Not really. I tried some crackers earlier." "I'm coming over," I said, already reaching for my car keys. "I'll bring some ginger ale and bland food." No arguments. To my surprise, she didn't protest. "Okay, thank you, Mom." That simple acceptance told me everything I needed to know about her desperation. The Amanda of a month ago would have insisted she could handle things herself. As I gathered supplies, I decided the time for passive observation had ended. I needed to see exactly what was happening when family members thought no one was watching. This situation had moved beyond merely uncomfortable to potentially dangerous for Amanda and my grandchild. I hadn't anticipated that my next visit would completely upend all our lives. The following day, I loaded my car with soup crackers, electrolyte drinks, and prenatal safe anti-nausea remedies. I also packed some frozen meals I'd prepared, hoping to lighten Amanda's burden. My planned approach was non-confrontational. I would focus solely on Amanda's health, avoiding direct criticism of the living situation unless she opened that door herself. I arrived at the house mid-morning using the spare key Amanda had given me weeks earlier. I wanted to avoid ringing the doorbell in case she was finally getting some rest. The living room was empty but littered with empty food containers and discarded clothing. Dirty dishes covered every surface, some with food clearly left out overnight. Quiet voices from this kitchen caught my attention. I moved silently down the hallway, not intentionally sneaking, but not announcing myself either. Through the partially open door, I could see Derek, his parents, and his brothers seated around the table eating what appeared to be a freshly cooked breakfast. Amanda was nowhere in sight. She's been complaining all morning about feeling sick. Derek was saying, irritation evident in his tone. I told her to stay upstairs until she can pull herself together. Gwen nodded sympathetically. Pregnancy isn't a disability. When I carried you boys, I never took a day off from my responsibilities. You raised us right, Mom, Derek agreed. Amanda needs to toughen up. This princess attitude isn't going to work when the baby comes. Harold grunted. You sure picked a delicate one, not like your mother. Justin laughed through a mouthful of food. Hey, at least we hit the jackpot with this house. Free rent while we save up for that Cancun trip. My heart stopped. Cancun trip. They were saving money while my daughter worked herself to exhaustion. How long do you think we can stay? Kyle asked as Tara nodded eagerly beside him. Derek leaned back looking smug. Indefinitely. That old lady gave the house to Amanda, which means it's ours to use how we want. Old lady? Gwen asked. Her mother, Derek clarified with a dismissive wave. She thinks Amanda walks on water. Probably imagines her playing happy homemaker in this big house, not realizing it's become family central. He chuckled. I was going to tell her we need to delay getting the nursery ready because Mom and Dad need to stay with us, but this is working out even better. Why stop at just them when we have all this space? Harold clapped Derek on the shoulder. That's my boy. Family takes care of family. And honestly, Derek continued, lowering his voice, I'm thinking of inviting Rachel to stay too. She's between apartments and there's still the office space we could convert. Your sister? Justin asked. Man, that'll be like old times, all of us under one roof. Amanda might not like that, Kyle pointed out, though he didn't sound particularly concerned. Derek's expression hardened. Amanda needs to understand her place. I make the decisions about who stays in our house. She'll get used to it. She seemed pretty upset this morning, Tara ventured. I heard her crying in the bathroom. Hormones, Derek dismissed. Besides, what's she going to do? Go crying to Mommy? She knows better than to air our private business. My blood ran cold as I processed what I was hearing. This wasn't temporary help for family in need. This was a calculated takeover of the home I had purchased with no regard for Amanda's well-being or wishes. Worse, Derek viewed my daughter as someone who needed to know her place rather than an equal partner. I was about to step into the kitchen when I heard a shuffle behind me. Amanda stood at the bottom of the stairs, pale and shaky, wearing a bathrobe. She had obviously overheard everything as well, given the shock and hurt on her face. She moved into the kitchen doorway and the conversation abruptly halted. Is that true? She asked quietly. You're planning to invite Rachel too. Derek's expression shifted instantly to one of concern. Babe, you should be resting. We can talk about this later. No, Amanda insisted, her voice stronger than I'd heard in weeks. I want to talk about it now. This house was supposed to be for us and our baby. I've tried to be accommodating, but I can't keep up with everyone's demands. I'm exhausted all the time, I'm sick, and nobody helps with anything. A remarkable silence fell over the kitchen. I remained hidden, recognizing that Amanda needed to say these things herself. You're being selfish, Derek finally responded. My family needed help and we had the space. What was I supposed to do, leave them homeless? You could have discussed it with me first, Amanda countered. You could have set some expectations about how long they'll stay, or asked them to contribute. You could have noticed that I'm struggling. Gwen's face puckered with displeasure. After all we've done for you, this is the gratitude we get, Derek. I told you she was too pampered to be a proper wife. I've cooked, cleaned, and shopped for everyone for a month. Amanda protested, tears forming. I've given up the nursery, our bedroom, any privacy, and my health is suffering. The doctor said my blood pressure is elevated, which isn't good for the baby. There you go again, exaggerating. Derek rolled his eyes. You're pregnant, not dying. I can't do this anymore, Amanda whispered, one hand moving protectively to her stomach. Something has to change. Nothing is going to change, Derek stated flatly. This is how it's going to be. My family stays as long as they need to. If you can't handle that, maybe you need to reconsider your priorities. That was the moment Amanda doubled over, a cry of pain escaping her lips. I rushed forward, no longer concerned about being discovered eavesdropping. Amanda? I reached her just as her knees buckled. Mom? She gasped, clearly surprised to see me. Something's wrong. It hurts. Derek stood frozen, looking more annoyed than concerned. She's being dramatic. Shut up, I snapped with a ferocity that silenced him instantly. She needs medical attention now. Call an ambulance. When Derek hesitated, Justin surprisingly pulled out his phone. I'll do it. Amanda clutched my hand as waves of pain crossed her face. The baby, she whispered. Please don't let anything happen to my baby. Everything will be all right. I assured her, though fear gripped my heart. I helped her to the living room couch, supporting her weight. Deep breaths, sweetheart. The next 20 minutes passed in a blur. The paramedics arrived quickly, their efficiency a stark contrast to the useless hovering of Derek's family. As they assessed Amanda, I provided her medical history and details about her pregnancy. Derek, finally recognizing the severity of the situation, hovered nervously but contributed nothing useful. When the paramedics prepared to transport Amanda, Derek belatedly announced he would ride in the ambulance. I followed in my car, my mind racing between concern for Amanda and fury at the situation that had led to this crisis. At the hospital, we were directed to the emergency room waiting area while Amanda was examined. Derek paced anxiously, alternating between checking his phone and staring at the clock. His apparent concern seemed more about the disruption to his day than genuine worry for his wife and child. After what felt like an eternity, a doctor emerged and called for Amanda's family. We both stood. I'm Dr. Winters. She introduced herself, leading us to a quieter corner. Your wife is stable now, Mr. Morris. She's experiencing extreme dehydration, malnutrition, and dangerously elevated stress levels. All of these pose significant risks to both her and the baby at this stage of pregnancy. But they're okay, Derek asked. For now, the doctor replied, her expression grave. But I must be clear. If her living conditions don't improve dramatically, we're looking at potential complications, including preeclampsia, preterm labor, or restricted fetal growth. What does she need? I asked, already making mental notes. Rest, proper nutrition, and most importantly, a significant reduction in stress. I understand she's been caring for multiple household members. I nodded while Derek looked uncomfortable. That needs to stop immediately, Dr. Winters stated firmly. Her body is telling her it's at its limit. Either her household responsibilities need to be redistributed, or her living situation needs to change. This is not optional if you want a healthy mother and baby. Derek shifted his weight. She's probably just not used to having a full house. She'll adjust. The doctor's expression hardened. Mr. Morris, let me be absolutely clear. Your wife will not adjust her way out of medical risk. Her body is showing clear signs of being overwhelmed. This isn't about comfort or preferences. It's about preventing serious medical complications. I watched Derek's face carefully as the severity of the situation finally seemed to register. But instead of concern, I saw calculation in his eyes. He was weighing his options, prioritizing his own preferences over Amanda's health. At that moment, something crystallized in my mind. The house I had purchased had become a trap for my daughter. The gift meant to provide security had instead enabled her exploitation. As Amanda's mother and the legal owner of that property, I had both the right and responsibility to rectify this situation. The time for gentle intervention had passed. Now I needed to take decisive action. As Amanda rested in the hospital under observation, Derek and I sat in the sterile waiting room, an uncomfortable silence between us. The fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows that seemed to highlight every line of insincerity on his face. After the doctor left, he'd made a show of concern, asking nurses for updates and texting family members with news. But I noticed he hadn't once asked to sit with Amanda or expressed worry about the baby's well-being. The doctor was pretty clear, I finally said, breaking the silence. Amanda can't continue in this environment. Derek leaned back, defensive posture already in place. Doctors always exaggerate risks. Amanda's young and healthy. She just needs to rest a bit more. Rest? I couldn't keep the edge from my voice. How exactly is she supposed to rest while caring for 6 adults who treat her like a servant? That's not fair, he protested, though weakly. We're family helping family through tough times. No, Derek, what I saw today was Amanda helping everyone while no one helped her. I heard your conversation in the kitchen. This isn't temporary assistance during a crisis. You've moved your entire family in permanently without any regard for Amanda's needs or consent. His eyes narrowed. You were spying on us. I was bringing food for my sick, pregnant daughter. The fact that you're more concerned about me overhearing your plans than about Amanda's health tells me everything I need to know. Derek shifted strategies, his sales training evident in the smooth transition to a more conciliatory tone. Look, Phyllis, I know you want what's best for Amanda. So do I. Maybe we got carried away with helping my family, but we'll make adjustments. Justin can help more around the house. Mom can take over some cooking. Like they have for the past month? I challenged. He had the grace to look slightly ashamed. We'll do better, I promise. For a brief moment, I considered whether he might genuinely change. Then I remembered his words. Amanda needs to understand her place. No man who viewed his wife as subordinate rather than equal would truly change his behavior. I need to make a call, I said, rising from my uncomfortable plastic chair. I'll be back shortly. I stepped outside the hospital into the mild spring air, pulling out my phone with newfound resolve. I dialed my lawyer's number, checking my watch to confirm it was still within business hours. Martin Goldstein's office. A receptionist answered. This is Phyllis Taylor. I need to speak with Martin urgently regarding a property matter. Within minutes, I was connected to Martin, the same attorney who had handled my business sale and James's estate. Phyllis, what can I do for you today? His familiar voice was reassuring. Martin, the house I purchased for my daughter last month, it's still in my name, correct? Yes, we discussed transferring it after the baby arrived. The deed remains solely in your name. And legally, that means I have full rights to determine who lives there. A pause. Yes, as the legal owner, you have that authority. Is there a problem with the property? I explained the situation concisely, outlining Derek's actions and Amanda's declining health. Martin listened without interruption, then provided exactly the confirmation I needed. You're within your legal rights to evict unwanted occupants from your property. Since your daughter is an intended beneficiary and not part of the problem, you can selectively determine who can and cannot reside there. Thank you, Martin. I'll need you to prepare the appropriate documentation immediately. I may also need advice on restraining orders depending on how this unfolds. I'll have paperwork ready within the hour. Do you want me to have someone deliver it to the hospital? Please, and Martin. Thank you for your efficiency. After ending the call, I stood for a moment watching ambulances come and go. The weight of what I was about to do settled on my shoulders. This would create a rift that might never heal, but Amanda's well-being had to take precedence over keeping peace with her manipulative husband. When I returned to the waiting room, Derek was absorbed in his phone, probably updating his family. I sat quietly, formulating my approach. The situation required strategic thinking, not emotional reaction. The doctor says Amanda needs to stay overnight for observation and hydration, Derek announced without looking up. I should probably head home soon. Can you stay with her? The fact that he was prioritizing returning home over remaining with his hospitalized wife only strengthened my resolve. I'll stay, I agreed. But first, we need to discuss what happens next. Derek finally looked at me, wariness in his expression. What do you mean? I just spoke with my lawyer, I said calmly. The house is still legally in my name. His face remained impassive, but I noticed his knuckles whitening as he gripped his phone tighter. So, he challenged, though his tone suggested he already understood the implications. So, I've made a decision. Your family needs to leave, all of them, by tomorrow evening. Derek laughed, though the sound held no humor. You can't do that. It's our house. You gave it to us. I intended to give it to Amanda and her child. I never agreed to house your extended family. And legally, I haven't transferred ownership yet. It's still my property. You'd kick your own family out, make us homeless? No, Derek, I'm requiring your parents' brothers and Kyle's girlfriend to find their own accommodations, which they apparently had before moving in. You and Amanda are welcome to stay and create the home you were meant to have. Derek's facade cracked, revealing the anger beneath. You can't dictate who lives in my house. Amanda won't agree to this. Actually, given her medical condition and the doctor's orders, I think she will. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. As the legal owner, I can determine who lives there. This is ridiculous, he sputtered. You can't just change the rules because you don't like my family. I'm not changing any rules. I purchased a home for my daughter and her baby to live in safety and comfort. It has instead become a health hazard to her. As both her mother and the property owner, I'm addressing that situation. Derek's eyes narrowed to slits. If you do this, you'll regret it. Amanda will never forgive you for interfering in our marriage. I met his gaze steadily. I'm willing to take that risk to protect her health and my grandchild's life. Are you? Without waiting for his response, I stood. I'm going to sit with Amanda now. I suggest you use this time to contact your family and make arrangements. My lawyer is delivering eviction notices this afternoon. As I walked away, Derek called after me. This isn't over, Phyllis. I turned back briefly. For your family's residency in that house? Yes, Derek, it is. I found Amanda awake in her hospital room, looking small against the white sheets. An IV delivered fluids to her dehydrated system, and monitors tracked her vital signs. She managed a weak smile when she saw me. Hey, Mom, she whispered. How are you feeling, sweetheart? I took her hand, noticing with concern how fragile it felt. Better now. They gave me something for the nausea. She glanced toward the door. Where's Derek? In the waiting room, making calls. I hesitated, then decided complete honesty was essential. Amanda, we need to talk about what happens when you leave here. Her eyes clouded with worry. I know things have to change. I just don't know how to make Derek understand. You don't have to make him understand anymore, I said gently. I've made some decisions that might upset you, but they're necessary for your health and the baby's. As I explained my conversation with the lawyer and my plans for evicting Derek's family, I watched emotions war on Amanda's face, fear, relief, anxiety, and finally, a fragile hope. You can still do that, control who lives there, she asked. Yes, the house is legally mine until I transfer the deed. Given what's happened, I think waiting to make that transfer was providential. Amanda was silent for a long moment, absently rubbing her small baby bump. Derek will be furious, she finally said. Probably. I agreed. But your doctor was clear. This situation is endangering both you and the baby. As your mother, I can't stand by and watch that happen. Tears welled in her eyes. I never wanted it to be like this. I tried so hard to make everyone happy, to be a good wife, a good daughter-in-law. Oh, sweetheart. I squeezed her hand. Being a good wife doesn't mean sacrificing your health or happiness. It doesn't mean serving people who show you no respect. What if Derek chooses them over me? Her voice was barely audible, revealing the fear she'd likely been carrying for weeks. Then he's not the man either of us thought he was, I said simply. And you'll have some difficult decisions to make. But you won't make them alone, I promise you that. Amanda closed her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks. I'm so tired of fighting this battle by myself. You're not by yourself anymore, I assured her. Rest now, I'll handle everything else. As she drifted to sleep, exhaustion finally claiming her, I sat in the uncomfortable hospital chair planning my next move. I would need to visit the house immediately, preferably while Derek remained at the hospital making his angry calls. I needed to deliver the message personally to ensure there was no misunderstanding about my intentions or authority. Derek's family had taken advantage of my daughter's kindness for the last time. Now they would answer to me. While Amanda slept under hospital observation, I drove directly to the house, determination hardening within me. The doctor had confirmed she would remain overnight, and Derek had stormed out of the hospital shortly after our confrontation, presumably to warn his family. I needed to act quickly before they could formulate a unified response. When I pulled into the driveway, I noted all the vehicles still present. Good. Everyone was home. My lawyer had texted confirmation that his courier had delivered the legal documents to the property, so they should already be aware something was happening. I squared my shoulders and approached the front door of the house that had caused so much strife. I had purchased it with love, and now I would reclaim it with resolve. Without knocking, I used my key to enter. The scene inside resembled a disturbed anthill. Derek's family members moved frantically about, some throwing belongings into bags, others arguing loudly. They fell silent when I appeared, 6 pairs of eyes turning to me with expressions ranging from shock to hostility. Derek stood in the center of the living room, red-faced and clearly mid-tirade. "You," he spat when he saw me. "How dare you try to throw my family out on the street?" I closed the door behind me and stepped further into the room. "I see you received the legal notice." "Good. That saves time on explanations." Gwen stepped forward, her face a mask of wounded innocence. "Phyllis, surely this is some misunderstanding after all we've been through as a family." "We are not family, Gwen," I corrected her calmly. "Amanda is my family, and she is currently hospitalized because of the stress this household has placed on her." Harold huffed from his armchair, newspaper still in hand, as if nothing of importance was occurring. "Women have been having babies since the dawn of time without all this fuss." My gaze cut to him sharply. "Women have also been dying in childbirth since the dawn of time when their health is neglected. Is that what you wish for your daughter-in-law?" He had the grace to look slightly abashed, though he quickly covered it with a scowl. Justin and Kyle hovered uncertainly near the hallway while Tara perched on the arm of the sofa, her face unreadable. Derek paced between us like a caged animal. "This house was a gift," Derek insisted. "You can't take back a gift." "The house was never officially transferred to Amanda's name," I replied, "and it was intended as a home for my daughter and grandchild, not a free hostel for extended family." "We're leaving anyway," Justin interjected suddenly. "This place is too drama-filled for me." Derek shot his brother a venomous look. "Shut up, Justin. Nobody's leaving." "Actually, everyone except Amanda is leaving," I stated firmly. "The decision is not up for debate." "You can't force me out of my own house," Derek shouted, his control slipping. I met his gaze evenly. "This house belongs to me, not my daughter, and I'm exercising my right as the legal owner to evict all of you immediately." The phrase landed with precision, exactly as I had rehearsed it. The legal wording left no room for misinterpretation or negotiation. Silence fell across the room as the full weight of my statement registered. Derek's parents exchanged glances. Justin actually smirked. Kyle whispered something to Tara, who nodded vigorously. "You're bluffing," Derek finally said, though his voice lacked conviction. "You wouldn't do this to Amanda." "I've done this for Amanda," I corrected him. "Her doctor was absolutely clear. This environment is dangerous to her health and the baby's development. As her mother, I will not stand by while she is treated like a servant in a home I provided." Gwen found her voice again. "Where are we supposed to go on such short notice? You can't just throw people out without warning." "According to Derek, you were between homes a month ago. I presume you've had options all along, but found this arrangement more convenient." My tone was cool, but not cruel. "The legal notice gives you 24 hours, which is generous considering the circumstances." "We have rights as tenants," Harold blustered, finally setting aside his newspaper. "You've established no tenancy," I countered. "You've paid no rent, signed no agreements, and have been here less than 30 days. You are legally speaking unwelcome guests whom the property owner has asked to leave." My lawyer had confirmed these details, knowing I would face exactly this argument. The family's faces told me they recognized the truth in my words. "What about me?" Derek demanded. "You can't keep a man from his wife." "Actually, I can't force you to leave if Amanda wants you to stay," I acknowledged. "But given her current condition and her doctor's orders, I would strongly advise you to consider whether your presence is beneficial to her recovery." Derek's expression darkened. "This isn't over. When Amanda comes home, she'll override this whole thing." "Perhaps," I conceded. But for now, my decision stands. You have until this time tomorrow to remove yourselves and your belongings. Kyle unexpectedly stepped forward. Come on, Derek. Mom and Dad have their retirement savings. They can get a place. And Justin and I should have been on our own anyway. Derek rounded on his brother. Whose side are you on? The pregnant lady who's been waiting on us hand and foot while we contributed nothing? Kyle responded with surprising clarity. Hers, I guess. Tara nodded emphatically. It's messed up how everyone's been treating her, Derek. Even I can see that. The unified front was crumbling before my eyes. Without Amanda present to manipulate, Derek found his position weakening. Pack your things, I said with finality. I'll return tomorrow to ensure the property is vacated. As I turned to leave, Derek called after me. You'll regret this, Phyllis. Amanda will never forgive you for interfering. I paused at the door. I'd rather risk my daughter's temporary anger than her permanent health. That's the difference between us, Derek. I put her well-being above my convenience. With that parting statement, I left the house, my heart pounding, but my resolve unwavering. I had taken the decisive action needed to protect Amanda. Now I could only hope she would understand why it had been necessary. When I returned to the hospital, I found Amanda awake and looking markedly better. The IV fluids had restored some color to her cheeks, and she'd been able to eat a small meal. You look like a woman on a mission, she observed as I settled into the chair beside her bed. Mission accomplished. I told her, then explained what had transpired at the house. I didn't sugarcoat anything, knowing she needed complete honesty to make her own decisions moving forward. When I finished, Amanda was quiet for a long time, staring at her hands folded over her small bump. I should feel bad about throwing them out, she finally said. I should feel guilty or disloyal. But you don't, I ventured. She looked up and I saw something new in her eyes, a steadiness I hadn't seen in weeks. No, I feel relieved, like I can breathe again. Her voice grew stronger. I've been trying so hard to make it work to be what everyone needed, but nobody considered what I needed, not even Derek. What do you need now, Amanda? I asked gently. Peace, she answered immediately. Space to prepare for this baby. Time to figure out if my marriage is worth saving. She met my eyes directly. I want to go home with you when they release me, not back to that house, not yet. I squeezed her hand. My door is always open, you know that. Thank you, she whispered. Not just for the house or for standing up to them, but for seeing what was happening when I couldn't admit it to myself. That's what mothers do, I told her. We see what our children sometimes can't. As Amanda drifted back to sleep, I sat watching the gentle rise and fall of her chest. Whatever came next would be challenging. Derek would not relinquish control easily, and difficult conversations lay ahead. But for now, my daughter was safe. She was choosing her own well-being and her child's future over an unhealthy situation. In that moment, despite all the uncertainty, I felt something I hadn't experienced in weeks: hope. The following weeks brought profound changes for both Amanda and me. True to my word, I returned to the house the next day to ensure Derek's family had vacated the premises. To my surprise, I found the property empty except for Derek himself sullenly packing a suitcase in the master bedroom. They all left last night, he informed me bitterly. Apparently, my parents had a standing offer to stay with my aunt in Tucson. They were just saving money here. The confirmation of what I had suspected all along gave me no satisfaction. And your brothers? Justin went to crash with friends. Kyle and Tara found a room to rent. He slammed the dresser drawer shut. Everyone abandoned ship pretty quick once they realized the free ride was over. I observed him carefully. And you? What are your plans? Derek straightened, a glimpse of the charming man who had initially won Amanda's heart briefly visible beneath the resentment. I'm giving Amanda space like her doctor recommended. I've got a temporary place lined up. But make no mistake, Phyllis, this is my home too, and I'll be back once Amanda's thinking clearly again. I chose not to argue, seeing no benefit in further antagonizing him. I'll be taking some of Amanda's clothes and personal items for her stay with me. He waved dismissively toward the closet. Take whatever. Just don't touch my things. As I gathered Amanda's belongings, I noticed how few personal items she seemed to have compared to Derek's extensive wardrobe and possessions. Another small indicator of the imbalance in their relationship that I had overlooked. When I left, Derek was making calls, already moving on to the next phase of his life without showing any genuine concern for his wife's well-being. It strengthened my conviction that Amanda's decision to stay with me had been the right one. Amanda was released from the hospital that afternoon with strict instructions for rest, proper nutrition, and stress reduction. The doctor emphasized that her elevated blood pressure had stabilized but remained a concern requiring monitoring. As we drove to my home, Amanda stared silently out the window, one hand resting protectively on her baby bump. "Are you okay?" I asked gently. She turned to me with eyes full of complicated emotions. "I'm not sure what I am. Relieved, scared, sad, angry, all at once." "That's understandable. You've been through a lot." "I keep thinking about what Derek said at the hospital," she confessed. "That I'd regret choosing my health over his family. That I was being selfish." I gripped the steering wheel tighter. "There's nothing selfish about protecting yourself and your baby." "I know that logically." Amanda sighed. "But emotionally, I keep wondering if I should have tried harder, been stronger." "Sweetheart, you were running yourself into the ground caring for people who gave nothing in return. That's not a marriage or a family. That's exploitation." She nodded slowly. "The doctor said the same thing, that I was headed for serious complications if something didn't change." Her voice strengthened. "I want this baby more than anything, more than saving face with Derek's family, more than avoiding conflict." "That's not just the right priority. It's the only priority that matters right now," I assured her. The next few days established a new routine. Amanda rested, ate regularly, and began to regain her color and energy. We converted my home office into a temporary bedroom for her, and I delighted in preparing nutritious meals that stayed firmly in her stomach, unlike during the stressful final weeks at the house. Derek called frequently at first, his approaches alternating between demands and apologies. Amanda spoke with him briefly but maintained her boundary about needing space. After a week, his calls became less frequent, which seemed to bring Amanda both relief and a different kind of sadness. 2 weeks after the hospital incident, Amanda asked me to accompany her to a prenatal appointment. The doctor confirmed what we could already see. Her blood pressure had normalized, her weight had stabilized at a healthy level, and the baby was developing properly. "Whatever changes you've made, they're working," Dr. Morris told her with approval. "Your baby thanks you." Those simple words had a profound effect on Amanda. As we left the medical building, she turned to me with tears in her eyes but a smile on her face. "I did the right thing, didn't I?" "You absolutely did. I confirmed. For both of you." That afternoon, Amanda asked to visit the house. I drove her there hesitantly, unsure what emotions the place might trigger. We found it empty but still bearing the marks of its brief occupation by Derek's family. Water stains on wooden furniture, carpet, indentations from improperly placed equipment, scratches on the hardwood floors. Amanda walked through each room silently, running her fingers along walls and door frames. When she reached what should have been the nursery, she paused. "I had such dreams for this room," she murmured. "A crib by the window, a rocking chair in the corner, soft yellow walls because I didn't want traditional pink or blue." "You can still have all that?" I said. She turned to me with surprising resolution in her eyes. "No, not here. This place, it's tainted now. Every room holds memories of being treated like a servant of Derek, choosing his family over me and our baby." She rested her hand on her growing belly. "I don't want to raise my child in a house where their mother was disrespected. I don't want these walls to witness any more tears." "What are you saying, Amanda?" "I want to sell this house. Start fresh somewhere new, somewhere without these memories." The request surprised me, though perhaps it shouldn't have. "Are you sure real estate decisions shouldn't be made on emotion?" Amanda smiled sadly. "This isn't just emotion, Mom. It's self-preservation. Every time I walk into that kitchen, I'll remember cooking for 8 people while no one offered to help. Every time I pass that living room, I'll remember Derek's family criticizing me while I served them. I can't heal in a place where I was broken." Her clarity convinced me. "Then we'll sell it. The market is strong right now. You should make a decent profit to put towards something that truly feels like home. What about Derek? She asked, her voice smaller. Legally, doesn't he have some claim? The house is still in my name, I reminded her. Derek has no legal claim to it. Whatever you decide about your marriage is separate from this property decision. Relief washed over her face. Thank you for everything, for seeing what I couldn't, for acting when I was too afraid. That's what mothers do, I said simply. We protect our children even when they're grown with children of their own. The decision to sell the house seemed to free something in Amanda. In the days that followed, she began making other decisions with the same clarity. She contacted a lawyer to discuss her options regarding the marriage. She began researching smaller, more affordable properties in family-friendly neighborhoods. She even enrolled in an online course to update her teaching credentials, planning for financial independence. 3 weeks after moving in with me, Amanda finally agreed to meet Derek for coffee at a neutral location. She returned from that meeting with a calm certainty I hadn't seen in months. He hasn't changed, she told me. He spent the entire time explaining how I overreacted, how his family meant well, how we could try again if I was reasonable. Not once did he ask how I was feeling or acknowledge what the doctor said about my health. I'm sorry, I said, genuinely saddened for her. Don't be, Amanda replied with quiet strength. It confirmed what I needed to know. This isn't a partnership. It never was. And I won't raise my child in that environment. The following day, she contacted her lawyer and initiated divorce proceedings. It was a painful decision, but watching Amanda reclaim her agency and prioritize her well-being filled me with profound pride. When the house sold a month later, the profit went into a trust for Amanda and her unborn child. She used a portion as a down payment on a modest 2-bedroom condo in a building with other young families. The space was smaller but infinitely more peaceful, with a sunny second bedroom that finally became the nursery she had envisioned. Derek fought the divorce initially, but his resistance weakened when he realized Amanda had the support system and determination to proceed regardless. The pregnancy complicated matters legally, but Amanda's lawyer ensured appropriate provisions for the child's support and visitation after birth. 3 months after that fateful day at the hospital, Amanda went into labor. I held her hand through 16 hours of delivery, marveling at her strength and focus. When she finally held her daughter Lily in her arms, the joy on her face erased any doubt that she had made the right choices. She's perfect, Amanda whispered, counting tiny fingers and toes. Absolutely perfect. Just like her mother, I said, wiping away tears. Derek came to the hospital the following day. Whatever his faults, he seemed genuinely moved when he held his daughter for the first time. Perhaps fatherhood would reveal a better version of him than husbandhood had. For Lily's sake, I hoped so. The months that followed brought challenges, as any major life changes do. Amanda navigated single motherhood with determination and occasional exhaustion. Derek maintained his visitation rights, gradually demonstrating more responsibility as he adjusted to fatherhood. Amanda returned to teaching part-time when Lily turned 6 months old, finding fulfillment in her career once again. 1 year after the hospital incident, we celebrated Lily's baptism in a small ceremony. Amanda glowed with a confidence and peace I hadn't seen since before her marriage. After the service, as we watched Lily charm guests with her toothless smile, Amanda squeezed my hand. I never thought my life would take this turn, she admitted. But I wouldn't change it. I'm happier now than I've been in years. Because you chose yourself, I told her. You recognized your worth and refused to accept less than you deserved. I had help, she said meaningfully. I had someone who showed me what real love looks like. Someone who taught me that true family lifts you up rather than weighs you down. I embraced my daughter, this strong woman who had endured, chosen wisely, and thrived despite heartbreak. That's the lesson I hope you'll pass on to Lily. That love should make you more, not less. That you never have to diminish yourself to deserve someone else's approval. Amanda nodded, watching her daughter with eyes full of promise. That's exactly what I'll teach her, every single day. As I looked at my daughter and granddaughter, I felt profound gratitude for the painful clarity that had emerged from that difficult time. The house I purchased had not provided the beginning I'd envisioned, but it had ultimately given Amanda something far more valuable than property. It had given her the strength to create the life she truly deserved. Sometimes the most precious gifts come wrapped in the most unexpected packages. And sometimes the most powerful phrase you can speak is the one that sets boundaries, demands respect, and reclaims your power. For me, those words were simple but life-changing. This house belongs to me, not my daughter, and I'm exercising my right as the legal owner to evict all of you immediately. Words that cleared the path for healing, for growth, and ultimately for love to flourish in healthier soil. Have you ever had to make a difficult decision that others didn't understand, but that you knew was necessary for someone's well-being? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more reflections on family boundaries and the courage to choose what's right, even when it's hard. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember that sometimes the greatest act of love is simply standing firm when it matters most.